What is going on, guys? It's Modded Warfare here. Welcome back to another episode of PS4 Jailbreak Tutorials, episode 9. So in this episode, I'm going to be showing you guys how to run RetroArch on your PS4, or RetroArch, however you want to call it, which is a multi-system emulator. If you haven't heard of it before, it's essentially like a emulator that allows you to emulate games from many different systems from the past, going all the way back from like the early 1980s to the early 2000s. So games from systems like the original NES and Sega Master System to Game Boy, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, SNES, Sega Saturn, PS1 games, Nintendo 64 games, and lots of other games in between, Atari, Commodore 64, DOS. All of these different games you can run through this one emulator, which is pretty awesome. I'm sure you've heard of it before. It's a pretty popular emulator. Now, although there technically isn't an official version available for the PS4, there is an unofficial port by a well-known developer in the scene called OsirisX, who created a port of RetroArch to run on a jailbroken PS4, and it works on 5.05 and 6.72 right now, and if a future jailbreak comes out, it will most likely work on that version as well. So in episode 7, I showed you guys how to run PS2 games and PS1 games using the built-in emulation to the PS4 that's used for the PlayStation Classics. But obviously there was some compatibility issues. Not all PS1 games worked, not all PS2 games worked. But with this emulator, with RetroArch, you'll have a much better chance of getting PS1 games running, because PlayStation 1 emulation is generally better in RetroArch in terms of compatibility than the built-in emulation. So yeah, let's get into this. So if we switch over to the computer here, you're going to have to download the RetroArch package file and the cores installer, which you can get from this link here, which will be linked in the video description. You can just install the RetroArch app and then just download the cores manually from within the RetroArch app itself. So you don't actually need the cores installer, but I would still recommend getting it. It's just handy to have all the cores installed at once instead of having to download them all individually for whatever new game that you're trying to run. So we're going to download them both here, and then we're going to also need some ROMs. So I've got a bunch of different ROMs to test here. Obviously I can't show you where to go to get any of these, so you'll just have to source the ROMs yourself. But just for some tests, I've got some Game Boy ROMs, NES ROMs, Sega Master System ROMs, and some SNES ROMs to try. I've also got some PS1 games, including a game that comes in like multiple discs on the original PS1, which can be a problem for some emulators trying to run them, but RetroArch should be able to handle it. Then we just got some, standard PS1 games on here as well. And of course, Ocarina of Time, which is a Nintendo 64 game, because the early versions of this emulator, this port, were not able to handle Nintendo 64 games very well at all, pretty much unplayable. So I just want to try a Nintendo 64 game to see if that's been fixed yet. So yeah, we've got a bunch of ROMs to test. So first thing we're going to do is get our external hard drive or USB drive. Make sure, of course, it's formatted in exFAT format and that you put the package files in the root of the USB drive, not inside any folders. And of course, you can also install them with the remote package installer if you prefer. And then we'll just create a folder called ROMs, and we'll put all of our ROM files inside here. So we'll create a N64 folder, and we'll put our Legend of Zelda game, our Ocarina of Time in here. And then we'll grab some other things. I'll just put this PS1 folder on, and we've got SNES games. We'll copy those over. I'm putting all of these on my USB drive, but there's two different ways you can load the ROMs. You can load them from a external drive, like a USB or external hard drive, or you can load them from the internal drive inside the PS4. But anyway, once you have the ROMs copied over to the USB drive, we can go ahead and eject the USB drive and plug it into our PS4. Then on the PS4, we're going to run the internet browser, head to our exploit site, go to 6.72 if you're on the 6.72 exploit, and run Mira unofficial or Mira, one of those two. If you're on 5.05, you just run the hen payload. Or if you're on 6.72 and you want to use hen, then there's other exploit hosts available, like Lethal's host that has the hen payload on 6.72 you can run instead. But they're basically the same in terms of allowing you to run fake package files. So either run Mira unofficial, Mira, or hen. and you should be able to install the package files. Now, before we install the package files, I'm just going to show you guys how to copy the ROMs onto the internal hard drive so that you can run your ROMs from the internal drive and you don't have to have your USB drive plugged in every time you want to load your games. So if we run PS4 Explorer here, which I showed you how to install in episode 3, then what we can do is hit right and left on the D-pad to switch between USB 1 and USB 0, and then press Y on the ROMs, hit copy, and then go back to the root directory of the hard drive, then go into the data folder, and then you can just press Y and paste the ROMs in the data folder, and that will copy all of the ROMs from the USB or external hard drive to the internal hard drive of the PS4. Okay, so that's one way of copying it over. So you can see we've got all the ROMs copied over here to the internal hard drive. I'm just going to delete it and show you the other method, which is to use FTP. So if you don't have a USB drive and you want to copy your ROMs over to the internal hard drive of the PS4, then on PS4 Explorer, you can hit the L3 button and that will bring up FTP on PS4 Explorer, or you can run the FTP payload inside the exploit host. And then on your computer, we can run FileZilla or some other FTP client, and then enter the IP address of your PS4 and just connect. If you're using the FTP payload, you'll have to put in 1337 as the port number. And then you can just head into the data folder and then just drag the ROMs folder in from your computer onto FTP into the data folder on your PS4's internal hard drive. And that will start copying all of those ROMs into the internal drive directly from the computer with no USB required. So that is a couple of different ways there that you can copy the games over to the internal hard drive. But of course, you don't need to do this if you're just going to be loading the games from the external drive anyway. You'll then be able to go into your settings and scroll down to the debug settings and go to Game Package Installer. And then you want to install the RetroArch package file and the cores installer. And for some reason, it shows up as a PSVR title for the actual RetroArch app itself. Not entirely sure why. Maybe it has some VR functionality, I'm not sure. But either way, it doesn't matter. So the first thing you want to do is install the cores installer. So run that first. And then it should give you a message saying, would you like to install the cores? Yep, there you go. Press OK to install the core files. Click OK. And it will have 74 cores to install, maybe more if it's a newer version. So just give it time to install all of these. Okay, so once it's done, it'll say it's finished. Press OK to close. And once you have the cores installed, you can delete the cores installer because it's not required once you have everything installed. And now you can run the RetroArch app itself. Okay, and there we go. Welcome to RetroArch. So you'll see it looks pretty minimalistic right now. And there is an online updater that you can access if you press circle on there. Circle to select, X to go back, a bit counterintuitive, but that's how it is on this. So obviously for all of these online updaters, you are going to need an internet connection. So we can update installed cores, which will check all the cores that we've installed in the cores installer. And if there's any new versions, then it will update those. So that's all the cores updated. You can update the core info files, assets, joypad profiles, cheats, databases, overlay, shaders, all that stuff. So it's got built-in updaters to deal with all of that, so that you really don't have to manually install anything. You can just make sure you're connected, your PS4 is connected to the internet, and you can download all of the latest stuff from RetroArch. Now, I know that some people do not want to connect to the internet on the PS4 for whatever reason. It's totally safe to do so, to connect to the internet on your PS4, obviously. You can use the DNS addresses to block Sony servers if you want, but that's just mainly just to avoid getting prompted to do system updates all the time. It's not to try and prevent you from getting banned, because you're not going to get banned on a jailbroken PS4 anyway, because jailbroken PS4s run on older firmware versions that can't even access PSN anyway. So it's really not an issue to connect to the internet. So if you're holding off on connecting to the internet because you're worried about getting banned, then you are just making life difficult for yourself for no good reason. However, if for whatever reason you still want to remain completely offline, you're using like an ESP8266 chip or something, or you refuse to connect to the internet because reasons, then you can still get all of these updates manually and install them manually. So I'll show you guys how to do that real quick. So I updated everything apart from the assets. So let's just look at how I would go about updating the assets if I was strictly offline on my PS4. So what I could do is you can go onto FTP on your PS4, because if you're using like an ESP8266 chip, you're still connected to a Wi-Fi network, the one that the chip is hosting. Or if you're, doing a local host off your phone or something, then you'll still be connected to a Wi-Fi network. So if I close RetroArch here, I run the internet browser and I run our FTP payload again. So PS4 6.72 FTP. And then of course on the computer, I can connect to my PS4's IP address. Of course, if you're using an ESP8266 chip or something similar, you just have to connect your computer's Wi-Fi or your phone's Wi-Fi to the same network that your PS4 is connected to the same Wi-Fi chip, so that you'll be able to connect to it via FTP. So if we connect on FTP and we go into the data folder, we'll now have a RetroArch folder in here now that we've got RetroArch installed. If we go in there, as you can see, you've got assets, cheats, config, database, downloads, all of that stuff, shaders, all the stuff that we were updating using the online updater. And to get the latest updates, you're just going to head to this website here, buildbot.libretro.com. As you can see, you've got assets in here. If we click on assets, we've got front end, and then you've got the assets.zip. You've got the configs, cheats, databases, overlays, shaders, all of that stuff is right here. So you just click on assets to download it. And once you have the assets downloaded, as I already have them right here in the zip file, then I would just go into the assets folder in RetroArch, open up the assets zip file right here. And of course, I don't think I can extract them directly into FTP. So I'll have to extract them to a folder real quick. Okay, and then from there, I can just open up this folder, grab everything inside and copy it into the assets folder on my PS4's hard drive. So that is the manual way of installing these files if you cannot use the built-in updater in RetroArch because your PS4 is not directly connected to the internet. Of course, another way of doing it manually is to copy these files to a USB drive and then use PS4 Explorer to copy them from the USB drive to this location on the hard drive. So you can also do it that way as well, which eliminates the need for FTP. FTP just tends to be faster, which is why I tend to use this method. But yeah, that's all you got to do right there. Wait for all this stuff to copy over and you'll have updated it manually. Okay, so I got it all copied now. So if I head back onto the PS4 and run RetroArch again, this time all the assets should be updated. So we should see the font changed and the icons should now be on there as well. And there you go. So as you can see, the font has changed and we've got all the icons. So obviously it's easier to just use the online updater and go to update assets and do it that way, just like we did with all the other stuff. Definitely would recommend that you just connect to the internet on your PS4. It makes life a lot easier. But if you're dead set on going offline, then you can, of course, install that stuff manually, as I just showed. So now that we have everything up and running and updated, we can now try and load some games. So what we can do is we can head down to import content, scan directory. Now data and USB 0 maybe that's meant to already be in there, or maybe it's saved that from before. If those two directories are not already in there and all you have is the /, then you can just press circle on the / and go to the data directory and then do scan this directory, or go into the ROMs folder actually and scan this directory. And then that will look for all the ROMs that you have in that folder. If the USB 0 does not already show up in here, then again, you can go to the / and then just go down to USB 0 here and you'll find it, and then go to the ROMs folder and scan this directory if you're storing your games on the external drive. So that's how you find the files on both. And then we can, from there, we can go back to the main menu and we can load content, and we'll just go to data, ROMs, and we can select one of the ROMs to run. So let's try Sega Master System, and we'll try good old Alex Kidd in Miracle World. And let's try and load that. And we'll load it using Sega MS or Genesis Plus GX. Let's try that. Genesis Plus GX. Core. Configured PS4 controller, and there we go. So we have our game running. Controller is working with it. It's all good. Works no problem. Sound's all working. Everything is good to go. Alright, so to back out of the game, you just hit start and select at the same time, which is the options button and the touchpad button at the same time. And then you can go ahead and just close content. You can also take screenshots, save states, all that kind of stuff. Save your state so you can go back to where you left off, rewind the game, load cheats and different shaders and stuff from within here. But yeah, so if you want to close it, just go to close content, and then that'll take you back. From there, we can then load something else. So let's try a different type of game. So that was Sega Master System. Let's try SNES. We'll just pick a random game here. Let's do Castlevania. Load archive. And then, of course, let's just try SNES 9X 2010. See if that works. Yep, there you go. That game's running as well. 1995 Konami. And there it is. So, let's go ahead, close content again, try and load something else. Load content. We'll do... Let's load from the USB this time. So we'll go to ROMs, and we'll load a NES ROM. If you have a huge list of ROMs, you can use L1 and R1 to speed through them, instead of just scrolling with the D-pad, which of course will take a lot longer. Let's just do classic Mario Bros right here. And this is a NES, so we'll just run, I don't know, quick NES, I guess. And there it goes, that works as well. Oh, and by the way, speaking of different players, in my last video that I did about RetroArch, the 5.05 version, that was very early days. People were complaining about controllers, like how to get two players working, so that you could do split screen or whatever, or do two players with two different PS4 controllers. That is possible. The issue is if you don't have a second controller connected when you launch the app, then you try and connect a second controller, RetroArch will not detect that you have that second controller connected. So what you need to do is make sure that you have both controllers connected to the PS4, and on the second controller you've selected sign in as a guest or whatever, and you have both controllers connected, and then launch RetroArch, and then it should detect both controllers when you do it that way, and then you'll be able to use both controllers on your games. So yeah, anyway, so close content. So let's give a PS1 game a try here. So we'll go into data, ROMs, PS1, let's try Alone in the Dark, Disc 1, Track 1, and we'll go with Sony PlayStation Rearmed, PCSX. I don't have a BIOS file right now, but whatever. As you can see, this game loaded up pretty quickly, even though it's a multi-track game and all that kind of stuff. I'm not sure if that's normal or if it's running a little bit slow. 2001. But yeah, nope, seems to be working pretty well right here. So you've got that game as well, PS1 working. Let's try one other PS1 game just to see. So we'll go to data, ROMs, PS1, Yu-Gi-Oh! Forbidden Memories, and again we'll load PCSX. And of course that works as well. So yeah, so if you're having trouble running PS1 games using the built-in emulation in the PS4 with the PS Classics emulator, converting it to a fake package file and running it, if that wasn't working, then you can always use RetroArch to run your PS1 games instead, and you'll probably have better compatibility using RetroArch instead of the built-in emulator. But in some cases, the built-in emulator might work on some games and RetroArch doesn't work on, and with other games they'll work better in RetroArch than the built-in emulation in the PS4. So it's good to have both options right there. And finally, we'll try a Nintendo 64 game because this was a problem with this emulator, this port of RetroArch when it first came out. It could not handle Nintendo 64 games at all. So we'll see if that's still a problem, because I haven't tested it since. So yeah, anyway, N64, Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time. We'll use Muppin64 and see what happens here. PS4 controller, N64. And it would appear as though it has been fixed. Yeah, or well, actually maybe not. That was a little laggy, but actually it seems it's definitely a lot better. Before it was running, in the previous versions, it was running at like 1 frame per second. So this seems to run a lot better now. So yeah, I would say it's pretty much fixed. So yeah, anyway, that is RetroArch, guys. That's how you run games from multiple different systems, from the, you know, early 80s to the 2000s, early 2000s on your PS4. And, you know, the PS4 is becoming a great emulation machine, because not only are you able to run, obviously, PS4 games, but you're able to run, you know, PS2 games with the built-in emulation, PS1 games with the built-in emulation, and then games from all these other older generation consoles using RetroArch. And we're not even done there, because you can also run Linux on the PS4. And with Linux running on the PS4, with x86 and some custom, you know, 3D hardware acceleration drivers to support the PS4's GPU, then you're actually able to run a lot more emulators through Linux as well. So it's a great emulation machine on top of all the other stuff that you can do with a jailbroken PS4 as well, which we are going to be covering very soon. So check out the playlist link in the description and in the cards in the top right hand corner. That will take you to the playlist in this series that shows you all the videos that I've made so far on this new jailbreak, so that you can get caught up and make the most out of your jailbroken PS4. So hope you guys enjoyed the video or found the information useful. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe, and I'll hopefully see you guys in the next one.